welcome everyone to another week of our Sosa Coaches Show. Obviously, it's a little bit different this week. To my right, the one and only Derek Webb filling in for Jeran Cox. Kind of a different role for me starting this thing off. Usually, I just sit here and every now and then say something, but we got Derek in here today, which I'm sure once we get rolling, he'll have more than enough to say. But welcome, Derek, and we've got an exciting show for everyone today.
I feel like you're sweating just a little bit.
Nope, still good.
I'm happy to be here. I wish Jeran was here, so I didn't have to sweat on camera. But obviously, I'm always out, covering games, taking pictures. Brock's doing that tonight, so I pulled the short straw to sit next to you tonight.
I hear you. It could be worse. Speaking of covering games and stuff, softball, baseball in full swing. You were talking off air a little bit about kind of where you've been and what you've been doing, so maybe get everyone caught up on what's happening out there. Yeah,
so the first game I got the chance to go to was this, it's last week now. As some of our guests tonight, I got to see Zane Trace, their softball program. And then, I went with Brock to cover Jackson and I can't remember who they were playing that night. That was Circleville, their softball teams. But we've been really wrapping up basketball season.
Right.
So I've been to 2 games this year. Brock is at Jackson tonight to cover Unyota's baseball team there. So we're really just getting started too.
Isn't that typically played? Well, they probably can't play it at the VA, right?
No,
Jackson's
it's the Classic.
Always at the VA, but for some reason. Well, that's why.
Yeah,
first National Bank Classic at the Paint Stadium.
Yep, and we've got games going on, all week there. We're live streaming, I believe Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, or Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, something like that. Dewey hasn't got me those graphics yet, so we'll have to get on him. But yeah, we're just starting. Baseball kicked off this past Friday, and then it's in full swing. And as you know, in the spring, it's just such a quick season.
It is.
Where basketball feels like it goes forever. And then you have about a 6 to 7 week period in the spring.
Yep, no doubt. I always tell, our basketball teams, I used to tell them, once this season's over, you guys that go on to play a spring sport, you're literally going to blink and you're going to graduate. Because the spring, for whatever reason, just goes so fast. Obviously, I think it is because it's a shorter period of time, but, and I think also due to the fact you're playing almost every day of the week. So it goes quick. You have to battle the elements early on, but by the end, it's nice out. And, hopefully a lot of our teams are still playing as far as they can in the spring and into the summer. So,
and I think we've got some potential. We've got a lot of teams that can make, really good tournament runs. Obviously, we're going to talk to a couple of coaches tonight that can. A big one, Teresa Ruby. She's been to the state semifinal, the last feels like 100 years.
Yeah, every year they've had it.
Notre Dame's been one step closer there. So, I think we've got a good lineup tonight.
Yep, I do too. And we're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, we're going to have Zane Trace softball coach Morgan York and some of her players in. So, quick break, and we'll be right back.
back on the Haynes Healthcare Haynes Total Healthcare. I messed that up. See, Coach's Call-In show with Zane Trace's Morgan York. Morgan, first of all, welcome. Thank you for coming in. And I've gotten a chance to see you guys this year, but I got to see you in the loss. But you've already picked up that first win, so I know you've had a ton of wins as a player, and now you've got one as a coach. Just kind of talk about maybe where your team is this season, how cool that was for you to pick up that W.
Yeah, so right now we're pretty inexperienced, but not using that as an excuse, just trying to get better each day. I like to joke that you get to see a different Zane Trace team every time you've came to watch us play so far, so you never know what you're going to get. But it was nice to have a couple of days of practice here and dial back into the basics and doing what we do and being aggressive. But we're not using excuses that we're young and inexperienced, and it's my first year. Like, we're going with what we got and doing our best. So
you say inexperience. You do have experience in the circle, in Bryn Weipert. And, I thought she threw the day that I saw her, you guys played Eastern Brown that day. I thought she threw well. But like you said, there's some maybe inexperience in the field. And you're going to figure it out, though. You could tell that. And then your offense has come along this way as well. But as you know, any softball success starts in the circle. Kind of talk about, Bryn, what you see from her as a former pitcher and what she does well.
Yeah, so Bryn has kind of rose up this season and took on a leadership role. And I've challenged her since day one that, she's the leader, she's the senior, and she's got to do what she does well every night. And she's really has done so and continues to want to get better. But, she spins the ball well. When she hits her spots, it's really good. She has a good changeup. So I think we'll continue to see her get better and better.
I agree.
I was just going to go just on your topic of inexperience. How do you get the girls? It's not like you have a bunch of players that haven't played softball, because softball is so huge in this area. They've played, but how do you get them to, with such, how do I want to say, little or preparation, practice time, try to make it the time that you do get them up to game speed at the varsity level, especially with the weather being so unpredictable. What are some of the things that you guys try to do to maybe catch them up to speed as quick as you can?
So it's hard. One, it's the only sport that you practice in a gym for 3 weeks, and then it's like, hey, let's go out in this field, and you have 5 games this week. But I mean, we actually do have quite a few kids that haven't touched a ball in 3+ years. Aubrey Thomas hasn't played since she was 8.
Okay.
She's starting at 3rd. Our second baseman's a freshman, hasn't played since 6th grade. So we have a little bit of both. So I kind of told them on day one, like, hey, you get today to laugh it off and see and just make mistakes. But after this, I don't want to hear that you haven't played since you were 8. You're here. This is what we're doing. So rise up. But the big thing's been repetition. Someone in their back pocket at all times, like, hey, you got this. It's a game of failure. Mm-hmm. So just keeping someone in their back pockets and lots of repetition.
Yeah, Aubrey, 2 home runs the other night. She hasn't played since she was 8, and she swings the bat quite well. Yeah. I don't know that I could just jump in. I guess it's like riding a bike, they say.
Yep.
The crazy thing, too, to me, and I don't know why, and my son Newton did it, like, they feel like they stop playing spring sports, I feel like, sometimes when they get in high school. And then all of a sudden they say, my senior year, I'm going to go do that again.
Yeah.
And it's like, you want it to be like riding a bike, but it's really not.
Oh, yeah.
But I feel like the softball and baseball are the 2 sports and maybe even track, that happens the most in. And it's probably the most difficult to do. So sure. I don't know why.
And she took some convincing. The past year, I would pass her, like, hey, you trying out for softball? Are you going to do it? And then finally she was like, yeah, I'll do it. Yeah. So I'm happy she did. So,
yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. Jeran mentioned something to you last week in the show, and he said you've been pitching to the kids. I know you always probably itch to get back out there and pitch, but what do you try to do? I know you could overpower them if you'd want. We've seen you play. But what do you try to do in batting practice to teach them at the plate as a former pitcher?
So I'm a big planner. I like to watch what other teams are doing, what their pitchers are throwing, and then I try to mimic it kind of thing. Going off of tomorrow's game plan, trying to incorporate that the past 3 days, what we're going to see, what we're going to go against, what our game plan is at the plate. I like to just be able to see their swings from that angle. And then I also have days like today where we play tomorrow, so it's just feel good. Like, I'm throwing you meatballs. You feel good about yourself going into tomorrow. It just depends.
I don't know. I got in the batter's box against Michaela Newland. I don't think I'd want to be in the batter's box against Morgan Gino.
It's so close.
Yeah,
It's so close.
Listen, I'm older now,
It
and I've
doesn't
had
matter.
2 shoulder replacements, so it's not anything crazy.
It's still crazy. Like
Yeah.
you said, it's close. You know, when you maybe coming up here, maybe talk about who you've got on your schedule and what you kind of expect as the season progresses for your roster, as you said, to continually get better.
So tomorrow we're playing Logan Elm, so state runner-up. So that's going to be a good game. Binkley, she's a phenomenal pitcher. I know them well, their family well, good people. So excited to play some good competition there. And then next week we're right into 6 games. So we start SVC. We are right off the bat with Adina and Southeastern and Huntington, so that'll be tough in itself. Plus a McLean and Circleville for a doubleheader. So competition and just learning what our game is and executing and doing the small things.
They didn't take it easy on you.
You mentioned Adina, and we talked to Coach Jadwin last week, and obviously, you know, that's a different style of softball that not everyone plays. How do you guys, without any time to prepare for an Adina that's plays such small ball, how do you try to fit that into maybe planning ahead? I know you said you were a big planner. How do you kind of try to do that?
So we've been practicing our small ball defense for the past, month and a half, but this week especially, because watching them come around. And then when you do have a pitcher that spins the ball pretty well, you have to be prepared for that at all times, because no one wants to sit up there and swing and miss. And we'll do the same thing. So it's nice when we just practice our bunt defense, and then we have girls in the box executing it. So you get
Best of both worlds. Yeah.
more bang for your buck kind of thing.
You know, as a coach, what's been your biggest I don't know what the word is for it, but I guess adjustment going from a player to a head coach? What have you learned the most in this, first 2-week stretch?
I think the biggest thing is, they're not me, and that's okay. That's perfectly fine. Every kid, I have 12 kids, and they're all 12 different. They all 12 have different goals. They all 12 swing the bat different. So just taking an individual approach to that and realizing they're not me. And some of them, it's not their pride and joy. They're not practicing every day, all year round, and that's okay. So that's been a big thing, and just kind of coaching them and loving them for who they are and what they do. So
I got a question. What, having coached at my alma mater and still coaching there, what was the feeling like?
There was a grimace there
of that first win. I can remember the first one I got and how special that was.
yeah.
But you're on the other side of it now. I always said it was way easier to play.
Oh, for sure.
Now you're
yeah.
you're coaching and it's out of your hands basically.
Yes,
but that feeling of the first win, what kind of talk about that?
It felt good, because whenever I took this position, replacing Donnie Coons, that's its own. He was there. He set his own legacy. And then, like you said, you have no control of the game once you're coaching. You have a little bit, but not much.
But once the ball is put into play,
it's on the girls. And the girls, we've had a big culture shift. So I'm a big culture person. My job is to make them good people more than good athletes. And the first week, they're like, this lady's a little crazy. She has very high standards. And then they were like all bought in, and they would run through a brick wall for me. So, and all 12 of them are special, and I love them. So just seeing their smiles and how happy they were for me, it's a whole different feeling. So.
Yeah, I'll ask you one last question. You mentioned, I watched the shows. So last week on the show, you mentioned you're not going anywhere. And that, a lot of coaches and hoops, you're the same way. At Unyoda, he stayed. I think that's something that we kind of rarely see these days. I'm writing, a coach resigns every other, season. I thought that was really cool that you said that it's home for you.
Right.
How much does that mean to you to have your alma mater as your first head coaching gig?
Oh, yeah. I think that's the only reason I am coaching. I don't think I would have taken it anywhere else.
Really?
Because I started my teaching career in Logan, and then we ended up moving home. We built a house, and we live 5 minutes from Zane Trace, so we're really not going anywhere.
Yeah, you're not.
But it means a lot to me, especially when, our administration is people that I had as teachers or whatever that looks like. And then having a kid myself now, and she loves the Pioneers, and she says "Boo the U" all
Bless
the
her heart.
time.
Bless her heart.
She doesn't wear purple, but and she's my pride and my joy, and these girls are like her sisters.
Yep.
She was so happy to have them at her house the other day. She thinks they're the best thing ever. So that's really my why, and I know she'll go through it all one day as well, many years down the road. But
And that's obviously I respect you, and that's the way it should be. And you know, I raised my kids the exact same way.
Yep.
yeah, it is, and I still respect.
And it makes it just makes it's what keeps the rivalry going. You know, no matter what sport it is. You know, but you talked about your first head coaching job being that. Mine wasn't at Union.
It's at Westfall.
So it was at Westfall.
That's right. Yep.
So like, for me, it was strange to have to go away first and then to come back. You know, I'm glad I did it. I love the experience I got from that. But like, it's so special that you didn't have to do that. You just were able to get right into it. You're not going anywhere, and you know, you're establishing the traditions. You're keeping them alive. You talk about culture, doing all the good things that you're supposed to do. So, you know, continue doing that, and best of luck to you. You know, this season for however long you do it.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, you know what I thought about you as a player, so I think the same about you as a coach, and we wish you the best of luck. And I know you'll get the program rolling, and hopefully many more victories are on their way.
Yep. All right.
12-2 in the
Yeah,
league.
12. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with a couple of Zane Trace players, and on the Haynes Health Care
Haynes
College
Total
Show.
Health Care
Haynes Total
College
Health
Show.
Care.
There you go.
welcome back to the Haynes Total Healthcare Coaches Call-In Show. I almost got it. I'm going to get it one time
Next
tonight.
time you're on it.
Yeah. We're to my left here, and to your right is Reagan Arthurs and Laney Scott from Zane Trace. And, guys, we just got done talking to Coach York. And, the first thing I would ask you is kind of picking, low-hanging fruit. But what has been, Coach talked about culture. What has been the biggest culture change, that you guys have went through so far this year?
For us, every week we have new support sisters, and for me, we play different positions. So in the center, I'm in center, and I try to keep the outfield together, and I try to keep these girls lifted, and I feel like she does the same for the infield. And then support sisters, I feel like every week you have somebody to count on, and I feel like that's a huge thing for us that we have never had.
Yeah, I think the support sisters, it really helps not have cliques with everyone, because you're with someone different every week. So you don't just stick with that one person, and you're really just you really get to know your other person. Some of these girls I've never talked to before the season, so then now I know these girls, I love them, and it helps. The support sisters helps.
One big family.
Yeah.
You say support sisters. Is this something? So do you talk to a certain teammate each week, or how does that work?
So we get assigned one person every week. So we'll do we warm up throwing with that person, and then we have every days in the field after we throw, and then you just get with that person, and then it's just really who you warm up with and you just stick with for that weekend. And then we have certain jobs raking the field, getting trash out of the dugout, putting bases in, just
And you're also in their back pocket if anything happens.
Yeah.
So it's more than just softball with that person for the week.
On and off
On
the
and
field.
off the field,
Sure.
100%.
When you look at your start, I know. Let's see, we got the first win against Waverly last week. What was the biggest difference? Did you feel like in that win versus the games prior, where you couldn't maybe put it all together, but you did that night?
I think really our confidence, we didn't get too comfortable, so we kept playing throughout the whole game, even though they can always come back and get that win against us. But I think we really just stuck through it. We all kept our cool. We did everything we needed to do, played our position, and just went through it and tried our hardest.
Our bats finally came alive too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We haven't been hitting as much as we like to, and I feel like that game we finally were able to get some runs on the score and see what happened.
So softball, you mentioned it a little bit there about momentum. How it's such a game of momentum. How when you guys get that, how do you try to just continue riding it? Because the game is so fast-paced and it's so quick. Kind of just talk about some of the things that maybe you do as hitters and then maybe in the field that you do to try to keep that momentum on your side.
I think in the field, it's say you make a bad play, we call it goldfish brain. You just really try and just erase it, and then you go on to the next, and then you'll get that next play no matter what, really. You just have to have confidence and keep going. Can't be selfish.
You get 30 seconds to reset, and then next play.
It's good. Yeah.
In the SVC, this is maybe one of the years where we could really say it's anybody's night on any given night. I don't really feel like there's one clear-cut favorite. It's just kind of a pack of pretty good teams. Have you guys talked about that at all? I mean, when you talk about team goals, what are those team goals, and how do you feel about playing in the SVC? It's going to start here soon.
Realistically, the SVC is anybody who wants it. And I think we really need to buy into that and realize, hey, if we put the time in, we can win the SVC. Yeah. Anybody can. So I think that's obviously, that's everybody's goal, but we want to win the SVC. We want to do something different this year. So
be aggressive, win those games.
Win those games. Well, and in the SVC, historically, it's been very good. Yeah. And, not saying that it's not this year. I think it's the parity level in the SVC this year is maybe the most that I've remembered in a long, long time. We talked off air when Coach was playing that they had so many good pitchers on each night, and I think, this year, excluding Zane Trace with Brendan in the circle, there's a lot of inexperience in the circle. At the plate, when you're up there knowing that you're going against an inexperienced pitcher, what are you looking for? What are you sitting dead red on, with the stick?
You always have to be aware of what the person before you, especially we're not leadoff hitters, so we have the people ahead of us saying, hey, she threw inside, hey, she threw outside, hey, scoop in the box, she's kind of slower. Mm-hmm. She has her eyes ball, so take that with what you need to, but really just be aware. I feel like we are obviously all going to get thrown different things, but use our count. We have 3 strikes for a reason, so don't be swinging at the first pitch. I mean,
Yeah, you just gotta adjust to it. Like, you'll have some pitchers you throw strikes no matter what, and then you got other ones that they're all over the place, and you just gotta adjust, see the ball all the way through, and then go with it.
As a hitter, which one of those is more difficult? Someone that you know has good command and they're going to be able to throw strikes, or someone that's a little bit wild, I guess you would say. Which one is more difficult to face? Do you think?
I'd say wild.
Yeah, me too. Because you don't really know what you're expecting. I mean, with like an experienced pitcher, it's going to be close no matter what. So you can get there, but you could have wild pitchers that are throwing strikes, and then you get 2 on you, and then
You never know what the umpire's going to call.
Right.
So.
yeah.
That's another big key. Is you just like any other sport.
You don't have the instant replay.
You have to adjust. You have to adjust to how they're calling it. So yeah.
What's the hardest pitch to hit?
Inside.
I mean like type of pitch. Curveball.
Maybe rise ball.
Rise ball.
Rise.
You think you can hit a rise ball, Matt?
So if it's rising, would you want to get deeper in the box?
No,
You want to get up?
Before it breaks.
Probably not.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
It's too close. If I got to
Yeah.
get closer, then I'm real close.
We talked. I told you I was going to ask you about Kerry Scott. I'm going to ask you about Kerry Scott. Matt, Laney's dad has one of the best baseball card, football card, whatever collections you'd
Didn't
ever
know
see.
this.
And I'm a nerd and I collect as well. Like, I'm talking about, it's legit. So I'm going to need Laney, first of all, to take some of those, bring them over to my house.
Probably has an alarm on it.
But how good of an athlete was Kerry?
He's in the Hall of Fame at Pate Valley. I mean, my mom and dad are both on the walls at their alma mater.
Are they really?
So yeah.
Okay. And your mom? Her
Zane
alma mater?
Trace.
Zane Trace?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then my sister's on the wall at Zane Trace.
Matt's
so.
shaking his head.
I mean, they were good. I remember. Yeah.
And then, of course, Laney has a district title on the volleyball court.
Yep.
That Lexi does not have.
Correct.
Remember, we make
Hold
sure
that
to
one.
remind
You
her of
hold
that
that
every
one.
time
Oh,
we see
yeah.
her.
That is hilarious because obviously Newton and Blake competed against each other their whole lives. And when we won our second gold football this year, Newton was down on the sidelines. And I happened to I can't remember what it was. Someone videoed it.
Uh-huh.
And Newton was standing there, and Blake walked over. The game was pretty much over. He was out of the game. And he's like, "How many gold balls do you have?" And Newton was like, 1.
Yeah.
And he's like, "How many do I have?"
Uh-huh.
So, like, that's something that you'll have forever.
Now, do you do
You'll
that?
be able,
You let her know about
you
it?
pull it out whenever you need it, probably.
I mean, she plays in college. She's a good player, but she is 100% my biggest supporter. And after that game, I went right to her.
Right.
And it was a special moment for sure.
And I could see her being happy for
Yeah.
you. But you still have one, and she has 0.
I do have one of them.
Okay,
That's right.
I got you.
And that's the way it is too. The older one, like, they're always really proud of them.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's
Right.
still it's going to eat at it. It'll eat at her forever.
She lost sleep that night, is what we're telling you. One last question for both of you. Going forward, Coach mentioned you've got a really tough slate coming up against some good teams, non-conference and, in the SVC. What do you feel like after a short, kind of dose of playing together? What do you feel like you have to, hone in on the most to get better?
One of each. You each get to answer one.
There you
What
go.
do you think you have to do better, and then you get to follow it up.
I think we need to keep a better mindset, just be confident all the way through, again with the confidence, but just really, if you make a mistake, just really try and forget it, move on to the next. So because whenever someone has a bad attitude, it makes everyone have a bad attitude.
Contagious.
Sure.
Very contagious. So just really try and keep a clear mindset, play your position, and then I think that'll be good.
I think in sports a lot of times talking's a big thing, and softball's one of those things where you have to talk, and where we are so inexperienced, for some people, we really have to talk it out. And I mean, I feel like all we do say at practice is talk, but genuinely we need to talk, and that's going to be a big thing that's going to help us in the field, is just relying on them whenever I'm in center and they need to throw it at home. I need to hear them say or whatever, and talking in the dugout whenever somebody just goes up and hits, hey, what'd they throw you? Hey, be ready for this. So talking's a big thing in our sport, I would say 100%, and that's gonna help us win games.
Well, I hope you win a lot of games this year, and we wish you the best of luck. I'm sure I'll see you here soon with the camera, and hopefully it's during a win, so I can talk to you guys afterwards. So we're gonna take a quick break. We'll be right back on the Haynes Total Healthcare Coaches Call-In Show.
There you go.
And we're gonna talk to a couple coaches around the area. Back to the Haynes Total Healthcare Coaches Call-In Show, and I think we're joined now by Notre Dame head coach Shad Ford. Shad, buddy, are you out there?
Coach, can you hear us?
Well, I think that's a no. Well, speaking of Notre Dame, have you seen how they've started off? They're undefeated still, and I tell you what, you talk about talent. They have all kinds of talent.
Well, I mean, if it's any indication of their basketball program, probably bleeds right into the softball program, I'm assuming, and
it's just
good.
So they lose Gwen Sparks. in a and she goes to the University of Pittsburgh. And so
pretty
D1 kid, led her team to like I think it was 2 consecutive Elite Eight finishes. Then they lose another D1 kid in Kendall Ford, which is Shad's oldest daughter. And now they come back, and they're just putting it on people. It's 21-0, 21-3.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's no shortage of talent down there in Portsmouth. Shad does a great job. If you haven't seen Notre Dame play, they're fun to watch. They've got a freshman, I can't remember her name. She's got like 3 or 4 home runs this year. Obviously they play in a conference where they can win games. But yeah, if you get to go to any softball games this year, that'd be one of them.
All right. I think Coach is on there with us now. Coach, can you hear us?
I can hear you. How you doing?
How you doing, man? What are you up
Pretty
to tonight?
good.
On a night off?
Yeah, we had a little practice and cut some grass and got the field ready for the rain.
Yeah. So the grass can grow again. You can cut it again.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, I was just telling Matt here, about you guys' start and how good it's been. Usually when teams, when they lose 2 Division I kids, they might have a little bit of a downfall. But you guys haven't had to, rebuild. It's just reloading for you guys. So kind of talk about where you're at this year and how you think you've started and where you can be at the end of the year.
Yeah, just getting started here early. We played a couple scrimmages versus some pretty quality teams, and then, started up at Rock Hill with Valley and Benton County, and then we had Hillsboro, the other night, which was a dog fight, and come out on the winning in all them games so far. So, couldn't ask for a better start. Of course, when you win, we're going to challenge ourselves with the schedule we got, but. So far, so good. It's still early though. We're learning things, learning the girls, and like you said, lost a couple pretty high names there with Gwen and Kendall, and but I like where we're at early in the season.
Coach, with the realignment of the divisions, does that impact in any way how you guys schedule?
Yeah, just based off our team, we really wanted to beef up our out-of-conference schedule. I think, just looking over it, got some really big games and just trying to prepare for that run we'll make at the end of the season, and definitely factors in, what we want to do and be challenged during the season. So at the end of the season, it'll pay dividends for us.
That Hillsboro win you talked about, obviously, you beat Cam Sproul, and how good of a player she is in the circle and at the plate. And Hillsboro's really, when you look at that team in their division, they're a district title contender or farther. That early in the year with, maybe a young, in some ways, team for you guys to win that game. I mean, how big of a win was that for you in terms of confidence, in terms of motivation going forward?
Yeah, it was. It was, being like you said, we have 3 seniors, 1 starting senior. So that kind of tells you how young we are.
Mm-hmm.
We have 4 sophomores starting, and we have 4 juniors starting. I'm sorry, 2 sophomores, a couple freshmen, and Maddie Antler's a lone senior. But early on, facing somebody like Cam, that gets up around 64 and spins it great. To be on time, have 9 or 10 hits against her, score 4 runs to commit going to Ball State. That's pretty big. So really proud of how the girls come out offensively, and then also defensively. That's a great team, like you said. They're going to be in the regional final, probably in Division 3 or 4, and she's going to take them there. And just a good challenge early on in the season to get that big win and just get some confidence for this young team we have.
With Gwen leaving the circle and then Kendall leaving the circle as well, at times, what's been the biggest difference for you as a coach, seeing a couple different names out there and who's, kind of eaten up those innings and obviously has done well so far?
For us?
Uh-huh.
Excuse me, cut out. Just for us, you talking?
Yeah, for you guys, taking over for Gwen and Kendall in the circle.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, have Ava Rush as our primary ace, sophomore. She kind of sit back in the dark light last year with, Gwen pitching most of the reps, but now it's her time. It's her circle, and being a sophomore, she's already, she pitches travel ball in pretty big games, but that Hillsborough game was a great game for her to get some confidence, some momentum. Just being a sophomore, I haven't seen too many better than her. If they're out there, I'd like to see them.
Coach, a lot of times I know with softball you can pitch your ace every game of every inning if you want to, and I feel like some schools maybe tend to do that maybe a little bit too much instead of getting that, the girl that's probably going to take their place some quality innings. Were you able to get her some innings last year to where you weren't just throwing her straight into the fire at the varsity level this year?
She pitched somewhat some. We rested Gwen at times, and Ava come in and pitched some of the games where, we thought it would be a good experience for her. But this year, I mean, she gets the big games. She gets all these games that we scheduled, and should give her confidence going forward. And, just piggybacking off the Hillsborough game, she pitched a great game. She pitched all 7 innings, I think had 10 or 11 strikeouts, and the defense played great behind her. I didn't think we committed an error. And, just for our other pitchers on the staff, I mean, I have a Layla Sword that throws innings. Lindsay Schaefer's going to get some time, and Candace Odie, a sophomore. So, I'm not going to pitch, Ava 27 games. I'm going to give the other girls a chance too, and just for us to get some reps.
I got a question for you that's maybe off the softball diamond a little bit, but also it ties into it. You and I have had a lot of talks about being a dad, and you lose a kid going to northern Kentucky, but you still have one in Macy there. How are you balancing that this year, and how cool is it for you to have a year with Macy, without Kendall in the fold?
Yeah, it is. It's kind of like me and her time here these last couple of years. I've been, I started softball here about 3 months ago, traveling to Atlanta and Tennessee and South Carolina, watching Kendall right before our season got started. So, it's cool to, watch Kendall, and then her season's kind of mid, and it'll be over here by May when we start making our run. And, having Macy, of course, is always nice. She's a good ball player that, deserves her credit too. I know Kendall gets a lot of it, but, just proud of both of my girls as a dad.
Yep. Well, it's been really cool watching, them grow as softball players, and watching you being able to be there with them on the diamond. And Macy hits the heck out of the ball.
Yeah, we're expecting big things from Macy as well this year. She'll be a leader for our team. She's been around, so we'll expect big things for her.
Coach, just kind of talk about that a little bit. I saw it with my own 2 kids in terms of, the older one typically takes on that leadership role, and then the other one kind of just sits back because they really have never had to do it, whether it's in the locker room or, at home or whatever. They're always the younger one, and the older one, just that nature of the beast, just kind of takes the role. And it was really cool this last season to be able to watch my younger son kind of come out of his shell a little bit and take on a leadership role instead of just having to go play. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, and I think that goes for our team. And I told the team, at the beginning of the season that, Gwen got a lot of spotlight. I mean, not very many kids go to the ACC. I know there's a couple, with Eaton and Boggs and, Ava Estep going to the Big Ten, but, that's just different. And then Kendall going to Division I to pitch also. But our team kind of hid behind them. They got a lot of publicity, a lot of write-ups, and then I told them, I said, that's done. This is your year. This is your time to shine. All 13 of you girls, like, it's your time. Everybody has a chance to do something, make history, go farther than them girls. And so, I need you guys to lead now. That their leadership, it's past, and they wrote their history, and now it's time for you guys to come. So they've really adapted to that early in the season, and it's been great so far as a team.
Yeah.
Well, last question for you, Coach. Elite Eight, and that was last year. We talked about getting to Akron. That's obviously the goal this year. What do you got to do different this year, especially with a new divisional alignment, to go ahead and punch that ticket and get that monkey off your back?
Yeah, well, just got to stay composed and play and finish. And, fight every pitch, fight to that last out, fight to that last run. When that umpire says game over, like that's what we have to do. We just have to finish the deal. We're going to be there. We're going to make a run. I mean, there's great teams around, great teams up north still, but with all the players I got returning, it's something we can do. We got to stay healthy. It's a funny game. It's a hard thing to do. If it was easy, every year somebody would win it from down home, but it's not the thing though. So it's a tough sport. It's a crazy game, but we're going to continue to practice, play these tough games, and try to get better.
Well, Coach, we thank you for joining us, and I'm sure I'll see you here soon.
Well, I appreciate you guys.
Absolutely.
Thanks for the coverage. All right.
I'll tell you what, you talk about a team that's dangerous this year.
Well, it already sounds like it. Obviously just from watching the last couple of years and having to play Hillsborough regular season and in the tournament, I think in Athens they played them a couple times. And obviously I've never seen Notre Dame play softball, but for the fact that they beat that team, they're for real. And I'm assuming D7.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. I'm assuming that Elite Eight run will happen, and if they stay healthy and all things go their way, they'll finally make it. According
to Brock, Strasburg-Franklin beat them last year in the regional final. According to Brock, we know how right he can be or wrong he can be. But according to him, in Division 7 now, they're going to stay away from them. I would say they're the favorite in Division 7. Whether or not they have to play them or not, they still... Well, they wouldn't have to play them. They would be in Division 6. Strasburg would be, they stay away from them. Oh, you mean totally away from them? Yeah, totally away from them, yep. Okay. I think we have on the line now Coach Wheelsburg, Moore? Derek Moore. Derek, you out there?
Yes, sir.
You got such a great name. How you been, man? Kind of talk about, how the season started for you guys so far and, where you think you are as a program.
Yeah, we've been good. Been getting after it. The weather's been good so far, so it's been good. It was good to get the season rolling this past weekend. Unfortunately, we played Buckeye Valley in the First Pitch Classic, and we came up short. We lost 8-2, but then we got to play last night and went on the road to South Point and got a big non-conference win 3-0. And so it's been up and down right now. I mean, last year we graduated 9 seniors, so we're basically starting over. But a lot of these guys that are filling in roles have been kind of waiting their turn, and they're baseball kids, and they've been chomping at the bit to get the opportunity. And we know as the season goes on and the more reps we get, we'll just continue to grow and hopefully a positive direction. And things don't get much easier as we open up league play tomorrow with traveling to Valley, and Valley returns all their guys but one. So it's kind of two different ends of the spectrum right now. They return everybody. We return one starter. So we got a tall task in front of us, but the boys are ready.
You talk about the SOC, and he just talked about the SVC with Coach York here, and in the SOC baseball race, anybody can win that race every single year. What's it like on a night to night basis when you gotta juggle pitchers and juggle who you're hitting against? I mean, what's it like on a nightly basis in such a league as tough as that is?
Oh, I mean, every night, and like you said, every night is tough. You're going to get everybody's best shot. And especially this year, I think it's different than any other year. A lot of Valley returned a lot of guys. So they have a heads up on a lot of people, but in my opinion, it's as wide open as it's ever been. South Webster returned all their starters. They're no slouch. And when you get a bunch of returning guys and a bunch of veteran players that have played in these type of games, it's an advantage for you. So that's where I think maybe us and Waverly and Minford have we've graduated some big senior classes that have helped us throughout the last 4 years. And now we're playing catch up a little bit, but I know all those coaches and our program included that we've been working hard to get our guys varsity ready. I've said that a lot. Get varsity ready to night in, night out when you got to go play at Carson Powell like we're going to go do tomorrow night, or you got to face whoever. You're going to get their best shot, and playing on the road is never easy in our league. So top to bottom, the SOC this year is a lot of good teams, a lot of teams that are going to compete. I mean, there's no slouch. So you better bring your A game. You better have your arm throw strikes and make the routine plays behind them, because if not, it could be a long night for you.
Coach, you said one thing there. You said our program, and when you talk about Wheelersburg baseball and your program, and you talk about guys graduating, but tradition never graduates, and I feel like with you guys, it's just next man up, next. It's now it's your turn, and a lot of great athletes down there, and all sports. But kind of just talk about how maybe some of the kids that have waited their turn, and who we can expect to hear from with Wheelersburg baseball this season.
Yeah, exactly. It kind of brings back last week or 2 weeks ago, we had our annual baseball camp, and I remember when I won, I was in these kids' shoes. A lot of our players now, that was kind of my first year as head coach and getting my feet wet. And I remember seeing them, and they would come up to the park and they just look up to those guys. And that's something I told our guys. I said, you guys were in these little kids' shoes at one point. They look up to you. And like you mentioned, a lot of these guys have been waiting their turn. When you graduate 9 seniors, who most of those 9 seniors were either 3-year starters or 4-year starters, you have to wait your turn. But the good thing is they've been working hard. The off season, they've been doing the things they need to do to be successful. And the guys that I think are going to probably be our biggest impact, and our one returning starter is Cameron Kahn. I mean, he's a sophomore, and he's one of the top players in the area. He's a heck of a shortstop. He's our leadoff guy, and we expect him to do a lot of things. And then you got guys like Brady Doss, who last year just had to kind of watch Jake Darling, our catcher for 3 years, be our guy. And now he gets the opportunity. So he's going to be a big piece for us to be behind the plate, kind of be the leader, vocal leader of the field, and then our cleanup hitter. Then also you got a couple of our seniors who haven't really had a lot of time but have been waiting, is Jake Clevenger, who's probably one of our top of the lineup guys on our center fielder, and then Jack Picklesheimer, who has thrown a lot of innings but hasn't got many opportunities to play the field, and now we need him to play the field and hit. So those are a few guys that have been waiting their turn, waiting for the opportunity, and they've been excited for it.
Well, Coach, we certainly thank you for joining us tonight, and I'm sure Brock or I will see you soon, and
yes, sir.
I hope to get you back on the show before the year's end.
Yeah, thank you guys. I appreciate, love what you guys do, and go Berg.
Thanks, Coach.
Did you ever see Derek Moore pitch?
No, but I remember the name.
He was filthy.
Yeah,
he pitched for the Paints a couple years as well, and he was filthy there too. Shawnee State as well. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, you just Wheelersburg baseball, and we're going to talk about Wheelersburg softball again. It's just like Wheelersburg anything. Mm-hmm. The way they do things down there is the right way. They're winning breeds winning, I feel like, and I just he said it's wide open. Well, I venture to say Wheelersburg will have a say in who wins it if they don't win it
They
themselves.
always do.
Yeah.
So I think actually speaking, like you said, of Wheelersburg, we've got Wheelersburg.
Guys have already been busy.
Softball coach Teresa Ruby on the line. Teresa, are you out there?
I'm here. Are you there?
I'm here. How are you?
All right. I'm doing good. How about you?
It's that time of the year where I get to talk to the most legendary coach in Southern Ohio.
Well, who did you already talk to?
Well, I'm happy to be talking to you. I always miss softball season until it comes back around, and you guys have already gotten out of the gates firing. Basically, if you can, kind of take us where you've been so far and how you've started the year.
Well, we lost 4 big seniors last year who were on 2 of the state championship teams. So, it's a little different for us this year. We're going to depend on some young kids to contribute. And so far they've been doing that quite well. But we started out with Northwest, and I think that game was like 15-1. And then we went up to Cold Grove and played, and I think that one was like 15-0.
So you've outscored opponents 30-1 in 2 games. Am I doing the math right?
Yes. You did good.
Well, it's that Chillicothe math, we just talked about we just talked to Derek Moore on the baseball side of things, and Coach Hoops next to me mentioned it's just there's something different at Wheelersburg about how you run your programs. And how you do business. I've watched you for a long time now, and I've seen you in Akron for 3 straight years. What do you feel like
Yeah.
the biggest difference, or what sets you apart from other programs in not just Southern Ohio, but the state of Ohio?
Yeah. Well, I've coached at other schools, so I do have that experience of seeing how things were different when I got to Wheelersburg, and I think one for our baseball and softball programs, we start the kids pretty young. We get them. Our youth coaches have spent some time with us, and they know what we're doing in the high school level. So there's a continuity of what we're teaching the kids. And then I think, we talk about uh, pride. I talk to our kids a lot about the pride and what they're wearing on the front of their shirt. And, it's not about their own personal line scores. And I think that's universal throughout Wheelersburg, is that you're playing for the school and the community. Is a big difference there. I always tell them travel balls for your individual highlights, and high school ball is totally different. It's about being part of a team and a community and playing with a lot of pride, and we really talk about that a whole lot. And I think for us, the mentality, like that part of it, we spend a lot of time about preparation, showing up, expecting to win, knowing you're going to win, and what that looks like from the moment you get off the bus.
Coach, you mentioned it, and about the youth programs, and it's always very important to have youth programs in all of your sports. But I think the one advantage that baseball and softball has in terms of a youth program is you can teach all of those things at such a young level and still have them carry over at the high school level. When I'm saying that is like in basketball, you can't say this is going to be our style in the youth program,
Right.
and then when you're in high school, we're going to be it's going to be different. It's just the way it is. But with softball and baseball, you're able to teach those things and those fundamental things, and the things that are important at the youth program level are still going to be just as important when they get to high school. Am I right on something like that? Is that something that you guys really kind of dive into?
Yeah, we can teach a style. I agree with you totally. Like basketball could just be so different by the time they get up there. And,
Right.
and I think the other part of it is like a physical growth, especially for the boys. Kid could be 5'4" all through Little League, and then next thing you know, he's 6 foot.
Right.
So the one thing that we try to talk to our younger group, our coaches in that younger group, is don't pigeonhole a kid
Right.
into always being a shortstop. We want our kids to play all kinds of different positions. And I know pitching, that's a little bit hard, but I want a kid I can tell you this year, I have 5 freshmen. I asked them, what positions have you played? Every one of them, they've played all of them, and that's what you want, because that's the only difference. I may have a kid. I don't need you in the infield. I need you in the outfield.
Yep.
So that would be the only difference right there. But yeah, you can teach the style of play that you'll have in high school at that younger age.
Plus, if you have it on play, all the different, that makes it a more marketable, so to speak, in terms of like, I don't just play third base. I can play in the outfield, or I can play, somewhere else. So like being able to be so versatile, I think, is huge. And that's one of the things that, I caught a little bit of heat when I changed our football program to going to flag at the youth level, is because I wanted all of these kids to be able to play different positions. And you just mentioned it. You don't want to pigeonhole a kid early, because when they're 8 years old, they're not going to be the same as when they're 15 or 16. So I think that's huge. And obviously it's paying off for you guys in your program.
And I think it adds to, what we call their ball sense. That thing that's hard to teach is, kids that know a well-rounded part of the game.
Right.
And then I tell my kids, if you want to play next level, you're more marketable to a college coach if you can play more than one position.
Well, Coach, you mentioned shortstops, and you've got a heck of a shortstop, as we all know.
Yeah, we do.
And Katie Boggs, she's going to North Carolina.
Yeah.
Not too bad. And obviously,
not too bad.
One of probably my favorite stories of Katie is Bud Lytle, which Bud, Matt. They played Huntington in the tournament last year, and Katie hit a ball. And Bud said it's the longest home run ball I've ever seen hit. And I said, really? Well, like, how long was it? he said, well, you know the trees in the outfield? And he said, yeah. He said, you know the building behind the trees in the outfield? And he said, yeah, you know the parking lot behind the building, behind the trees? He said, yeah, it hit there.
He's not lying either. He is not lying about that.
Coach, I want to talk.
He is not.
Yeah, well, I'm going to piggyback off that because I can tell you this: you were playing at Unyota. It was in the tournament a couple years ago, and Macy Eaton hit a foul ball home run that landed on third base, and I was still mesmerized by that. And I thought that's the farthest ball I've ever seen hit. The next pitch, I swear she hit it through the batting cage net. And that was the hardest ball I'd ever seen hit. So, these Wheelersburg girls do not mess around when they're swinging that bat.
She just hit a huge home run with Virginia, dead straight ahead in center field. And but Coach, I say all that and tell that story to, you've had a lot of star power in a lot of your seasons at Wheelersburg. You mentioned your other players playing other positions and kind of taking on their roles. Obviously, we know just with us that we're going to write about Katie Boggs. We're going to write about AV Step. We're going to the Macy Eaton's the world we wrote about. But the other kids we wrote about as well because they played with those kids. How do you keep the spotlight on your entire team and keep players like Ava and Katie humble?
Well, part of that, I'll give credit to those kids and to their parents because they're modest kids and they're very team oriented. So, when you get kids like that, you don't have to manage them a whole lot. I can tell you with a Macy and a Katie and you don't have to ride them to give effort, to tell them what you expect from them. That's how they got to where they are. Again, they're great role models for our kids and for our younger kids to watch and see, their level of dedication. And again, we talk a lot about what the style of Wheelersburg softball is, and it involves all the things you can control. And, that's attitude, effort, hustle, being supportive of your teammates and being prideful about, it's an honor to wear that jersey, just based on the people who've come before you. And so, after games when we're out there huddling and all that stuff, we talk about everybody that contributed to the game. And, and it ain't just about, the Katie Boggs home run. There's a lot of stuff that goes into winning a game and winning a state championship. And that, Derek, you've seen it, you've been there. So there's a lot of unnamed people that contribute to that stuff. So I think, we have a healthy group. I think we have a real healthy attitude about the fact that we know that it's going to take all 19 of us.
Well, Coach, this, and as a media member, we're not supposed to root, but it's really hard not to root for you guys, and that how I feel about you, and I'll have to bring my little ones to watch you play again this year. So
I hope so. I haven't got to see them for a while, so I'm anxious to see how big they are now.
with the realignment, Coach, will you guys still be playing your tournaments at Unyota? Because that's one of my favorite things to come watch is when Wheelersburg hits home runs. It's one of the greatest things.
Last year they split us, and half of us were in Athens and half of us were in Unioto. So I don't know. Unioto has been so good to us, so it's kind of hard not to just want to go back there.
Well, hopefully you do, because I like watching it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, Coach, thanks for calling in, and I'm sure, as I've told every coach tonight, I'm sure Brock and I will see you, or somebody will see you soon, and we'll come take pictures. And like I said, I'll bring the little ones, and they can hang out in the dugout.
I love it. We appreciate you guys, all the coverage you give the girls. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, Coach.
All right. Looking forward to it. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Yeah, they when you talk about coaches that, you just love being around.
I was going to say that.
Coach is
never talked to her before, but I'd play for her.
She's top notch.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when you see, programs win so much, and so like Wheelersburg does, they might, other people might look at that program and they see, I don't know, arrogance, or they see, they become the enemy because they win so much.
That's
and
what
Teresa, she's not.
No, and she's not, and I think it's just because she believes wholeheartedly in what makes them good. You can't be the top of the line or the best unless you put the time in.
Yep.
And she's developed her program. Obviously, the girls have gone through that program, and once you start seeing success, like I said earlier, it breeds success, and these younger kids want to be what these older kids are, and it just continues, and it doesn't look like it's stopping anytime soon.
Well, you can have a good coach and a bad person, or a bad coach and a good person, and she's both a good person and a good coach.
I agree with that.
I think we're going to take a break, and we'll be back with some more area coaches, and we'll continue the Haynes Total Healthcare Coaches Call-In Show. Travis said this all night, but it's on the Edward Jones call-in line. They're presented by Edward Jones and the good folks over there with Andrew Day, as we know very well. With on the line now, we've got Waverly coach Jeff Noble. Coach, are you out there?
Sure am. Glad to talk to you.
It sounds like you're celebrating.
Well, I'll tell you what, we did win tonight, and we've done our annual celebration at White Castle.
Well, I'm sad I didn't get an invite. Honestly, that's about right by my house in Chillicothe. So, you said
you know what, the kids today, we got to do a history lesson because half of them don't even know what White Castle is.
They were probably asking why you passed Roosters.
Exactly. That or B-dubs, you're right.
Yeah. Yep. You get a 4-2 win tonight over Hillsboro, and that is why you're celebrating, which is obviously a good thing. You score, though, 2 in the top of the 7th to take that lead, and, obviously that's a heck of a win early in the season. So kind of talk about tonight's win and how cool that was for you guys to nail that down.
You know what? We've been inching along here. We had replaced a lot of good players from last year for graduation, but it's been very enjoyable so far, and the kids are very willing to learn and had really good pitching. Like you said, tonight, the top of 7, we got a big knockout of Cage Alexander, freshman, and 2 on the board, and went up 4-2, and then our bullpen took care of the rest of it.
Well, and then it looked like Tegan Hurt earned the win. As you said, you're the bullpen. When I think about Waverly baseball, I think about pitching. You guys are always tough to beat. I played against you back in 08, 09, and you had Teeters pitching for you then, and you were always good. We hated going to Waverly because we knew we were in for a tough night. Kind of talk about that part of your team this year. Who's going to lead the way on the bump?
We have a returning 4-year starter in Hunter Houck. He went down the Elite 8 run last year, and he's back. We have a few other kids who really didn't pitch a lot, but so far this year, freshman Braylon Spriggs has thrown it really well. Tegan Hurt, you've already mentioned him.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got some other guys in Gunnar Myers, quarterback for the football team. He can throw it. We got Goose Parker. We really have, we're blessed with some arms and on top of those strikes, you've seen Landon Ramey come in tonight and threw it well, walked a couple guys, but sucked it up and got out of the jam there.
No, I'm sorry. I thought you said something.
No, I didn't say that.
Oh, I got you.
I'm listening.
When you look at last year's team, you mentioned that Elite 8 run. When you bring that type of experience back, what do you feel like, or how can you use that run going into this year? I guess the better question is what did that run teach your guys this year, and what are they teaching the younger guys from it?
Well, you could always use that for motivation. Hey, that's Tiger baseball. We're expected to make those runs. We're expected to win games. There's a target on your back. So, we use that to our advantage. And, it's all about the program. Okay, not any coach or any one player. It's about how you go do your business every single day from coaches to players to bat boys to everybody. So, we just kind of preach it's the program. We're just pleased with the success so far. It could change, but we're enjoying it right now.
You guys, you mentioned Cage Alexander. He's in a big spot tonight, comes up with a base hit. We saw what he could do on the basketball floor. I didn't know he even played baseball. He seems like a heck of an athlete. Maybe kind of talk about what he's already brought to your team early this season.
Well, he's played some varsity football, played varsity basketball. So you really can't say he's a freshman at this point.
Sure.
So he's played some good travel baseball. He's a switch hitting catcher. I got him playing second base and some shortstop. So, he's just a talented freshman who has some things to learn, but, he's very coachable, and he brings that, and not just him, but we have some other players and young kids who just they're motivated to win games. And at the end of the day, if you can get most of your players to compete, then you're going to have a chance.
Coach, you talked a little bit about Alexander and his ability to, he's played football, he's played basketball. And then when it comes to spring, his ability to come through in the clutch at the varsity level early in the season, how important is that? Maybe not just for his confidence, but your team's confidence of saying, okay, we lost some really good players last year, but you know what? You already talked about it. You talked about program and how the next man up. Just kind of talk about that.
Well, and I obviously think a lot of Cage, but there's some other guys in there doing the job as well as him. But like you said, the program is what matters most important. So, but he does bring the competitive edge, and he brings some confidence. And obviously, when you got a freshman up there that's not going to fold under pressure, then that gives confidence to the rest of your players. So, that's part of the things that he brings, as well as as a bunch of other players. I mean, Jeran Cox has been coming up some big hits. We got Liam crossover first, playing great defense, and the bottom of the orders is swinging it decent, so turning over the order. So there's just a lot of things that have to happen for you to win games, in high school baseball.
You mentioned Caleb Cox at shortstop, and we were really sorry you have to deal with his dad. That's awful, with having to deal with Brian Wickline, who we know very well. So we apologize for that. But what has Caleb brought to the team? I know he's a new guy coming into a program. What's he brought early this year?
Well, let's talk about Brian first. I'm not very computer savvy, but I've got him on my block list, so I don't even have to deal with him from my phone. And in person, I still got pretty good eyesight. So if I see him coming, I just go the opposite way.
Yeah, you try to stay away from him. I get that. I do the same.
Caleb, he's just very excited to play baseball. He comes to the park every day wanting to do great things for you. And sometimes, that's a disadvantage because he tries too hard. But he really is, excited to get to the park, and he's brought some energy along with him, and that's helped us also.
Well, Coach, we thank you, as always, for joining us. I'm sure we'll see you soon. You're our Kingston National Bank Game of the Week this week, so I know we'll see you Friday. And as always, it's always good talking to you, and I'm sure we'll have you back.
Hey, I appreciate it. We appreciate the kind words about Waverly, and thanks for doing what you guys do.
Thank you, Coach. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, the Wick line, I mean, it's got to be tough. It's got to be tough for him.
Yeah. People are probably used to it, though. They're used to it by now.
Well, I tell you what, I felt like I think I've got my first show under my belt, and Jeran can come back at any time next week, okay?
Well, I mean, you did well. You got the sweating under control. You got used to the lights, the heat.
People don't understand until they're here.
It's the bright lights are real, right?
So,
they're real. But no, it was a good show. It was nice to have some student athletes into the studio again, and Coach York. It's always good to have people come in, and we got to talk to some outstanding coaches that were a part of great programs.
Yep.
And that's always cool for me to be able to talk to some different coaches of different sports that have established winning programs. You just kind of listen to those people and maybe steal some ideas if they're out there. But it's just always interesting to be able to hear how different people do different things to get the success that they have.
Honestly, every coach that we talked to tonight has it's a success or a culture of success. You talk about wins. I mean, they rack them up. Right.
And the interesting thing for me to hear them say was they didn't say our team. They said program. Yep. How many times did we hear the word program tonight? So, and all of those coaches have winning programs. So
now that I think of it, every coach that we talked to tonight is a Hall of Fame coach or will be.
Or player.
And Derek's still young in his career, but he keeps winning games like they will. I mean, Derek's a Hall of Fame player. Yeah.
Coach York.
Yeah. I mean, so we had a star-studded list. It was fun. I guess it was fun sitting next to you. And,
we were on the same side for once.
We are. That's right. Early
You're not
prediction.
Asking me the questions.
Who wins the SVC football? I won't do that yet. That'll be next.
That's a fall show.
Yeah, I'm still going to ask you the same question.
That's a summer show.
So, we obviously thank everybody for for watching and for reading and just supporting what we did. I don't know a lot of people know this, but Matt, do you know how SOSA started?
Well, I mean, I feel like it was like an underground experiment, like that started up in a laboratory or a basement somewhere with a crazy idea.
Basically.
You asked me one day, hey, I'm thinking about doing this.
Yeah.
Can I interview you? And you say you're going to support it?
Yeah, and you said, yeah, I'll support it. And here we are.
That was like, 7 or 8 years ago?
We
maybe?
started in
6 years
2018.
7 years ago?
7 years ago.
Yeah.
And we started writing our first stories with Facebook Notes, which I don't even think is a thing anymore. But
the world's changed.
Man, it has. And Brock was in Illinois at the time.
Well, you guys kept taking turns leaving.
Yeah, well,
I'm going to leave, and then he comes back, then you leave, and then he comes back.
Yeah.
And finally, you guys figured it out. You guys figured it out.
Well, what happened was I moved over there and hired him, then left him.
Right, I remember all of this.
Yeah, and
it was like a soap opera.
And then I called him. I said, "Hey, we should just move back home and start this." He said, "Okay, let's do it."
Yeah, why can't we just do this from home?
So I mean, and we did. So, but we thank everybody. I don't usually get a chance to publicly thank people for supporting us, and we always say this, but we wouldn't be sitting here, but we wouldn't be able to do what we do without the readers and our sponsors and Haynes Total Healthcare Center and Edward Jones and Glow Fiber and all of those guys. So I can never say thank you enough, and to coaches, to like you, Matt.
Well, it's always about the student athletes, from a coach's point of view. Obviously, that's why you do what you guys do, and our community supports it so well. And it's just a really good place to raise a family and grow up, and they're able to have these memories, and this stuff hopefully stays online forever so that they can show their kids when they're older. And it's just a really cool thing. You guys have adjusted with the times, and probably wasn't always the easy or the most popular thing to do, but it's the way that our world works now, and you guys have done a great job, and it not only continues to grow, but I think it continues to improve as well. So hats off to you guys.
Even with guys like Christian behind the computer.
Well,
so
he makes us look good,
Well, I don't know about that, but I was working at the Portsmouth Daily Times. It was on a Friday night, and it was football season, first week one. They said, I think Jeff Metzer was still even at Unionda, and they said, hey, you got to pick one. And so I went to my wife, Jenny, and I said, what do I do? She said, you bet on yourself. So I quit my only income job that I had, and I didn't have an income for 2 or 3 weeks, and I didn't know what we were going to do, but you're right, it's gotten off the ground. So
it's always good to listen to a Unionda grad.
Well, I mean, after we just talked to Morgan York, so
I'm going to get the final say.
I'm going to get the final say. Helping him move all those times.
Helped me move.
Yeah.
Well, 7 times.
Attaboy.
7 times. It was close to that, actually. Well, we thank you again, and next week we'll be back to our regular scheduled program, I'm hoping, with Jeran sitting in my chair and Matt Hoops, as always, to my left. We will see you next time on the Haynes Total Healthcare Coaches Call-In Show.